Home with God. Chapter 1. Everybody is doing everything for themselves. When you understand that this is true even about dying, you will never fear dying again. 1. It is impossible to live or to die without God, but it is not impossible to think that you are. If you think that you are living or dying without God, you will experience that you are. You may have this experience as long as you wish. You may end this experience whenever you choose. I believe those are holy words. I believe they came directly from God. Those words have been floating around in my mind for the past 4 years. I see now that they were my invitation, an invitation from God for a larger conversation. You're right. I wanted to make sure that we had this larger conversation, and so I placed those words in your mind every time you thought seriously about life or death, even for a moment. This is a conversation you've been reluctant to have and have put off repeatedly. Yes, I know it's not that I'm afraid to talk deeply about life or even about death. It's just that these are very complex subjects, and I wanted to make sure I was really prepared to enter into a huge conversation about them. I wanted to be psychologically and, well, I guess spiritually ready. Do you feel that you are now? I hope so. I can't keep putting off this conversation forever. Even if I tried, you'd just keep placing those words into my head. That's right, I would. Because those are the words I want you to hear, even if you never get to the rest of the conversation. Okay, I've heard them. I want you to hear them over and over again. It is impossible to live or to die without God, but it is not impossible to think that you are. If you think that you are living or dying without God, you will experience that you are. You may have this experience as long as you wish. You may end this experience whenever you choose. Those words convey all that anyone who is afraid of living or dying will ever need to know. Then we can end the conversation right here. We can. How deep do you wish to go in your higher understanding? Should you choose to continue with this conversation, I will present you with 100 more words, 100-word formula for all of life. Well, there's a tease. That's exactly what it was meant to be. And it worked. I'm not about to cut the conversation short now. So here I am having a conversation with God about living and dying again. Yes, but looking at many things that we have never discussed before. Who would believe this? It doesn't matter. You're not having the conversation for anyone else. You're having it for yourself. I have to keep reminding myself of that. So often people will see themselves as doing something for someone else when they're really doing it for themselves. Everybody is doing everything for themselves. When you awaken to this awareness, you will have reached breakthrough. And when you understand that this is true even about dying, you will never fear dying again. And when you no longer fear dying, you will no longer fear living. You will live your life fully, right up until the very last moment. Hold it, wait a minute. You're saying that when I'm dying, I am doing it for myself? Of course. Who else would you be doing it for? Chapter 2, Home with God. Once you answer most of the questions you've ever had about death, you'll have answered most of the questions you've ever had about life, too. Well, we're off to an interesting start. That's a very intriguing statement. It is the first of many that will appear here. Yet our dialogue will go to places that will not be only intriguing, but for some people unbelievable. Such will be the nature of the remembrances for which you came. The remembrances? It is as I have told you in previous conversations. You have nothing to learn. You have only to remember. The conversation we are about to have, as with all of our conversations, will help you to do that. It will lead you through a series of remembrances about life and death. You will notice that many of these remembrances have to do with death. This is by design. For it is through a deeper understanding of death that you will most quickly reach a deeper understanding of life. Some of these remembrances may be surprising, for they will challenge much of what you thought you knew. Others will not surprise you at all. As soon as you hear them, you will be aware that you knew that all along. Taken together, these remembrances will bring you back to yourself, reminding you of all you need to know in order to experience that you are home with God. Humanity has waited so long to have a new conversation on these larger matters. Most of what we hold in our collective reality is from ages past. We could use some new wisdom here. All human beings are born with all the wisdom of the universe imprinted on their souls. It is in the DNA of everything. Indeed, DNA could very well be used as an acronym for Divine Natural Awareness. Every living thing has this natural awareness built in. It is part of the system. It is part of the process that you call life. This is why, when people are confronted with great wisdom, it often sounds so familiar to them. They agree with it almost at once. There is no argument. There is only a remembering. It is part of their divine natural awareness. It is said to be in their DNA. It feels like, yes, of course. So let us now open this new conversation in earnest, allowing you to remember what you have always known. Let us talk with a fresh voice about these things, in order that you might refresh your cellular memory, that you might find your way home. I can be home with God while I am still alive, can't I? I mean, I don't have to wait until I die to get home, do I? You do not. Then tell me again, so that I can clearly get it. Why will so many of the remembrances have to do with deaths? Death is the biggest mystery of life. Unlocking that mystery unlocks everything. Once you answer most of the questions you've ever had about death, you'll have answered most of the questions you've ever had about life as well. Then you'll know how to be home with God without dying. I've got it. Great. But I advise you not to have an expectation or to set up in your mind a requirement that everyone must get what is being said here. Because if you do, you might wind up editing this conversation in order to be sure that as many people as possible understand it and agree with it. Oh, I wouldn't do that. You could be tempted to if you thought that others might marginalize it or ridicule it. I don't think so. There will be portions of this conversation, especially when we get into discussing the whole cosmology of life, that will seem way out to many people. I have no doubt that the explorations and the mental excursions we're about to undertake will enhance your ability to deeply comprehend what is true about life and death. Yet some of them may seem so far afield and so esoteric that you really could be tempted to edit them out. No, that's not going to happen. My commitment to this conversation is to produce a faithful transcript of it, in its totality, leaving nothing out that you intend to be here. Good. Then let's get on with it. Here is the first remembrance. Dying is something you do for you. That's such an interesting thing to say because I just don't see myself as doing it for anybody. In fact, I don't see dying as something I am doing at all. I see it as something that is happening to me. It is happening to you, and it is happening through you. Everything that is happening to you is happening through you, and everything that is happening through you is happening for you. I just never thought of dying as something that I was doing on purpose, much less something that I was doing for myself. You are doing it for yourself, because dying is a wonderful thing, and you are doing it on purpose, for reasons that will be made clear as we move deeper into this conversation. Dying is a wonderful thing? Yes, what you call death is wonderful. So do not grieve when a person dies, nor approach your own death with sadness or foreboding. Welcome death as you have welcomed life, for death is life in another form. Welcome the death of another with soft celebration and deep happiness, for theirs is a wondrous joy. Here is the way to a peaceful experience of death, your own or that of another. Know that the person dying is always at cause in the matter. And that is the second remembrance. You are the cause of your own death. This is always true, no matter where or how Chapter 3, Home with God. Do you think that dying is something that occurs against your will? Gosh, you're certainly being true to your word here. That is going to be hard for many people to believe. There are some underlying principles of life at which we will take a deeper look in just a bit. That may make it easier to hold some of these remembrances more firmly in your reality. When we explore these basic principles more fully, you will come to know that what you call death is a powerful moment of creation. See now, there's another fascinating thought. Death is a moment of creation. It is one of the most powerful moments you will ever encounter. It is a tool, used as it was intended. Death can create something quite extraordinary. This too will all be explained to you. Death is a tool. Death is not simply a doorway. It is a doorway, but it is a magic doorway, because the energy with which you walk through that doorway determines what's on the other side. Okay, hold it. You're taking my breath away. Can we slow down here just a bit? Can we go over some of this one more time and fill in a few of the blanks? What you just said there leaves me with a lot of questions. We'll look at them. We'll look at all of them. We'll answer every one. Great. So let's start with this idea of using death as a tool. That thought is brand new to me. A tool is something that one uses on purpose. It's something that one wants to use. But I don't want to die. Nobody wants to die. Everybody wants to die. Everybody wants to die? Of course, or nobody would. Do you think that dying is something that occurs against your will? It sure seems that way to plenty of people. Nothing occurs against your will. That is impossible. So here is the third remembrance. You cannot die against your will. If I thought that were true, it would be so comforting. That would be so wonderfully healing to know. But how can I embrace that as my truth if it is my experience that lots of things happen that I do not want to have happen? Nothing happens that you do not want to have happen. Nothing? Nothing. You can imagine that things happen that you do not want to have them happen, but this is not what is so, and it merely allows you to think of yourself as a victim. Nothing holds you back in your evolution more than this single thought. The idea of victimization is a certain sign of limited perception. True victimization cannot exist. It's pretty darn hard to tell someone whose daughter has been raped or whose entire village has been wiped out in a vicious act of ethnic cleansing that no one has been victimized. It would be non-beneficial to speak in this way to people while they are in the midst of their suffering. During such moments, simply be with them with deep compassion, true caring and healing love. Do not offer spiritual platitudes or intellectual excursions as a remedy for their pain. Heal the pain first, then heal the thought that created the pain. Of course, it is true that in the ordinary human sense, there are those who have been the victim of terrible occurrences and circumstances in life. Yet, this experience or victimization can be real only within the context of normal and therefore extremely limited human awareness. When I say that true victimization does not exist, I am speaking from an entirely different level of awareness. Yet this is a level of awareness that human beings can achieve once their pain has been healed. I think that your statements will be difficult for many people to embrace, whether they are in emotional pain or not. What I am saying here is nothing more than what nearly all of the world's traditional religions have said for many centuries. Mysterious are the ways of the Lord, they have proclaimed. Have faith in God's perfect plan. Later in this conversation, we'll have an opportunity to explore this idea of a perfect plan. And we'll also take a look at how it is that many different souls interact together to produce the individual and collective outcomes of life on earth in a particular and perfect way for a particular and perfect reason. In fact, I am going to ask you to give me an example of that. You are, yes, and you will know exactly what I am talking about when I do. For now, rest quietly in your heart with the knowledge that all things are happening with perfection. I will try to hold that thought and to embrace that in my heart as you have asked. But you're going pretty fast here. You're moving pretty quickly. We've engaged in this dialogue just a short time and already you're into, may I say it, into the ozone. I mean no disrespect, but just where is this conversation going? To where you have always wanted to go, which is to the truth. Home with God, Chapter 4. There is no truth except the truth that exists within you. Everything else is what someone is telling you. Well, I've certainly heard that one before. Everyone and his brother is trying to tell me that he is leading me to the truth. Yes, but only one person can take you there. And who is that? You? No. Then who? You. Me? Yes, you. You are the only one who can take you to the truth, because the truth exists in only one place. Don't tell me it's within me. That is correct. There is no truth except the truth that exists within you. Everything else is what someone is telling you, including what you just said right there. Of course, exactly. Then what is the point of this whole conversation? For what matter? What is the point of ever listening to anybody about anything? I did not say that nothing exterior to you can lead you to. I did not say that nothing exterior to you can lead you to your truth. I said that you are the only one who can take you there. Yet, if I knew my own true way to the truth about life and death, I wouldn't be asking you about it. I wouldn't be having this dialogue now, would I? A lot of people who I know would pray about it. They would pray for an answer, for some guidance, in the face of their deepest questions about life and death. And when people pray to God for answers, and then they get them, often very clearly, they say that God has answered their prayers. You might say that this is the experience I'm having here. This feels to me, this whole conversation feels to me like a form of prayer to which I am receiving an answer. That's a wonderful statement because it happens to be true. That's why I'm keeping a record of this whole conversation, of this whole process. I'm writing everything down. Just be careful that this does not create in others the impression that charity lies outside of them, and that they have to go somewhere else, to you, for instance, for answers. Be careful not to create a situation where others envy you for having found a way to wisdom, for they will then want to know, they will want you to show them the way, and that would be counterproductive and could even be dangerous. Dangerous? The day that other people start believing that you have access to answers from God to which they do not, you will become dangerous. So it's your job to do whatever you can to make sure that the world does not think this of you. You would be well advised to not let the world make a special case out of you. Take whatever measures you think may be required to despecialize yourself. You are special, of course. The idea here is to eliminate the thought in anyone else's mind that you are somehow more special than others. What do you suggest? Do something totally out of character for the kind of person that people may want to imagine you as being. Something that a saint or a guru would never do. Manage a rock band. Become a stand-up comic. Open a bowling alley. There are no saints who own bowling alleys. There are no gurus who are stand-up comics. Are you kidding? They all are. Bada boom. It's just that people don't think they are. That's the point. So do something outrageous. Something that will have people scratching their heads. Something that will have them denying your specialness and even accusing you of being very unspecial. Heck, just telling people the story of my life should be enough to get them to do that. I've made enough mistakes, done enough things that no one would approve of, to make it impossible for anyone to hold me in a very special place. It is true that you are an imperfect messenger, which makes you perfect. Because no one can confuse the message with the messenger. Not likely, unless you allow them to. So just keep being human, forgive yourself, and ask the forgiveness of others for all your mistakes, old and new. Then go out and tell everybody that the answers they seek lie within them. Home with God, Chapter 5. No matter which way you go, you cannot fail to get home. It's all very well and good to tell people that. But it's been said so often that now it seems like nothing more than a worn-out aphorism. I mean, the answers lie within you is just one step removed from the force is with you. Yet I am here to tell you that everything you will ever need to know, you knew at your birth. Indeed, you came here to demonstrate that. These statements you are making are just so, disconnected from our actual experience. How can I believe that every answer is within me and has been since birth when I experience that I have so much to learn? You have nothing to learn. You have only to remember. Life is a process of growth. Growth is the evidence of divinity's presence and expression. All of life works this way. Consider the tree outside your window. It knows nothing. It knows nothing more now when it is 15 feet tall and covers you with the shade of its gigantic umbrella than it did when it was a tiny seedling. All the information that it needed in order to become what it is today was contained in its seed. It had to learn nothing. It merely had to grow. In order to grow, it used the information locked inside its cellular memory. You are not unlike the tree. Have I not said? Even before you ask, I will have answered. Yes, but, I have to ask again, what then is the point of this conversation? Why talk to anyone about anything, much less pray or talk to God? Even the tree needs the sun to spur its growth. All of life is interconnected. No aspect or individuation of the whole acts independently of any other aspect or individuation. Life continuously creates interactively. We are producing outcomes mutually. There is no other way we can produce them. Your conversation with others and all the information that comes to you from your outer world is like rays from the sun. They cause the seeds within you to grow. There are many things that exist in your outer world that can lead you in the direction of your inner truth. Yet even those people, places, objects, and events are only reminders. They are like signposts. That is, in fact, what the outside world is all about. The physical world is designed to provide you with a context within which you might experience outwardly what you know inwardly. And so I actually benefit from the world around me showing up exactly as it does. All humans do. That's why I have said, when you look at that world and all that has happened to you, judge not and neither condemn. Let us use the tree as our continuing friend in this portion of our discussion, helping us to find deeper understanding. Let us imagine that you have walked out of the clearing and deep into the forest. You have never walked so deeply into the woods before, and you know that you are likely to have a little difficulty locating the clearing again. So you place markings on the trees as you go. Now, as you leave the forest, you see these markings, and you remember that you put them there so that you could find your way out. These markings are exterior to yourself. Ultimately, they will lead you back home. But they are not home itself. The markings show you the trail, the path, the way, and the way looks familiar to you. You recognize it. That is, you recognize it, or know it again. Yet, the way is not the destination. Only you can take yourself to the destination. Others can lead you to a path. Others can show you their way. But only you can take yourself to the destination. Only you can decide to be home with God. Your outer world is the path. It is meant to lead you back home. Indeed, all the events in your outer world are meant to do exactly that. That's why you put them there. They are marks on the trees. They are. But if I put everything in my outer world into place so that I could lead myself back to my inner truth, then what you're saying here, yes, that's what you're saying here, yes? That's what I'm saying here. You have it exactly right. If I did that, then, in a sense, I put this book into my own hands. That is correct. I caused this material to come to me, exactly as it's coming to me right now. It's a signpost. It's a mark on the tree. Now you are seeing things clearly. That is precisely what is so. But then, if everything in my outer world is a signpost, how does any single part of it have any significance? That would be like walking down the street and arriving at an intersection only to see all the signs pointing in different directions, yet all of them saying, "This way home." Now you are really seeing things clearly. What in heaven's name are you saying? I'm saying that no matter which way you go, you cannot fail to get home. Then it doesn't matter which path I take. No, it does not. It doesn't matter which path I take. It totally, absolutely, and positively does not. Then why would I bother taking one path over the other? If all paths lead home, what's the difference which path I take? Some paths are less arduous. Home with God, Chapter 6. Whatever you do not believe what is said here. So some paths are better than others. Less arduous is a factual description. Better is a judgment, which observation brings us to the fourth remembrance. No path back home is better than any other path. Are you sure? Please, dear God, please, I need you to be certain about this. Nearly every religion on the face of the earth says exactly the opposite. I say to you again, so that there can be no lack of clarity. No path back home is better than any other path. All paths take you there, because all it takes to get there is true desire, a pure and open heart, and faith that God has no reason to say no. You may not be with me. To any person for any reason, least of all because they've simply believed in God in a different way. All true religions are wonderful, and all true spiritual teachings are paths to God, and no one religion and no one teaching is more right than another. There is more than one way to the mountaintop. Religion was created by human cultures to assist those who are born into those cultures in knowing and understanding that there is an ever-present source of help in times of need, strength in times of challenge, clarity in times of confusion, and compassion in times of pain. Religion is also a manifestation of humankind's instinctive awareness that rituals, traditions, ceremonies, and customs have enormous value as markers that assert a people's presence in the world, and as the adhesive that secures that presence by holding a people's culture together. Each culture has its beautiful and singular tradition honoring a beautiful and central truth, that there is something larger and more important in life than one's own desires, or even one's own needs, that life itself is a much more profound and far more meaningful experience than many people at first imagine, and that it is in love and mutual concern and forgiveness and creativity and playfulness and the joining of hands in a united effort to achieve a common goal in which will be found the deepest satisfactions and the most wondrous joys of the human encounter. Take then, each of you, your own path to me. Undertake your own journey home. Do not worry or render judgments about how others are taking theirs. You cannot fail to reach me, and neither can they. Indeed, you will all meet again when you are together at home, and you will wonder why you quibbled so. Oh, and we have argued, haven't we? We have argued endlessly. We have quarreled, and we have fought, and we have killed, and we have died because we have insisted that ours is the right way. In fact, that ours is the only way to heaven. Yes, you have. Yet now, here you come to tell us that no path is better than any other path. And I must gently ask, how can I believe this? How can I know what to believe? Whatever you do, do not believe what is said here. I'm sorry? Do not believe a single thing I say. Listen to what I say, then believe what your heart tells you is true. For it is in your heart where your wisdom lies, and in your heart where your truth dwells, and in your own heart where God resides in most intimate communion with you. I ask only one thing. What is that? Please do not confuse what is in your heart with what is in your mind. What is in your mind has been put there by others. What is in your heart is what you carry with you of me. Yet you can close your heart to me, and many have, and many also have closed their minds. And please, do not tell others that unless they believe what is in your mind, I am going to condemn them. And finally, whatever you do, do not condemn them yourself on my behalf. We keep doing that. We don't seem to know how to stop, and we're putting ourselves through sheer hell. Yet now here is the good news. Humanity need not go through hell in order to get to heaven. We do not have to even walk into those confusing woods where we have to mark the trees to find our way out. We can walk around them. That is correct. No matter how beautiful and tempting those woods may look from the roadside, I don't have to step into the thicket. I don't have to get lost in them and then try to find my way back out. That is right. You do not. Every day I promise myself that I am going to stay on the path. Yet every day I am tempted by life to get caught up in all manner of dramas, having nothing to do with who I am or where I am going. Before I know it, I'm in the woods again. And you're not out of the woods yet. I know. I keep hearing the words of Robert Frost in my head. I've heard them before, but now I hear them in a new way. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. So come with me now. Let us journey together into the clearing, so that at last you can tell the trees from the forest. Okay, on the journey to clarity we go. I have found myself in the woods. I have stumbled into the dark forest of my own conflicts and confusions. And I truly want now to get back home. But isn't the shortest path the better path? I mean, isn't shorter better? And what is the shortest path? In order to answer this question, we have to define what we mean by home. What exactly is this home to which people seek to return? Most people think that going home means returning to God, but you cannot return to God because you never left God, and your soul knows this. You may not know this at a conscious level, but your souls know this. But if my soul knows that I have no need to return to God because I never left God, then what is my soul trying to do? What is the purpose of life on earth from the soul's point of view? I can tell you in 4 words. Your soul is seeking to experience what it knows. Experience what it knows. Your soul knows that you never left God, and it is seeking to experience that. Life is a process by which the soul turns knowing into experience. And when what you have known and experienced become a felt reality, that process is complete. Home, it turns out, is a place called completion. It is the complete awareness of who you really are through the complete knowing and the complete experiencing and the complete feeling of that. It is the end of the separation between you and divinity. This separation is an illusion, and your soul knows this. Completion can therefore be defined as the moment when separation ends the moment of your reunification with divinity. This is not really a reunification, because I have never not been unified, but it can seem like a reunification if I have forgotten this. That's right. In the moment of reunification, what occurs is that you simply remember who you really are and experience that. So in a sense, it is a returning to God, but in figurative terms only. In strictly literal terms, it is a returning to your awareness of the fact that you never left, that you and God are one. Yes, and returning to awareness is a twofold process. Awareness is achieved by knowing and experiencing, which produces feeling. Awareness is the feeling of what you have known and experienced. It is one thing to know something. It is quite another thing to experience it, and still another to feel it. Only feeling produces full awareness. Knowing alone can produce only partial awareness. Experience alone can only produce partial awareness. You can know that you are divine, but when you experience yourself being divine, then your awareness is made complete through the living of that feeling. You can know that you are any aspect of divinity, for instance, that you are compassionate. But when you experience yourself being compassionate, then your awareness is made complete through the living of that feeling. You can know that you are generous, but when you experience yourself being generous, then your awareness is made complete through the living of that feeling. You can know that you are loving, but when you experience yourself being loving, then your awareness is made complete through the living of that feeling. Many times I've said, I just don't feel like myself today, and now I understand exactly what that's about. When you do not feel like yourself, it is not because you do not know who you are, it is because you are not experiencing it. You must add experience to knowing to produce feeling. Feeling is the language of the soul. Awareness of self is achieved through the complete feeling of yourself being who you really are. And awareness is a twofold process. There are two paths by which it is achieved. A soul arrives at complete knowing along the path of the spiritual world, and at complete experiencing along the path of the physical world. Both paths are needed, and that is why there are two worlds. Put them together, and you have the perfect environment within which to create complete feeling, which produces complete awareness. Home, it turns out, is a place called completion. Chapter 7, Home with God. All souls find peace after their death. Not all souls find peace before it. That's a wonderful and comprehensive explanation of what is really going on in this experience we call life. And we are nowhere near finished. The deepest mysteries of death are soon to be unveiled. This conversation has really only just begun to touch the surface. Let us now examine your last question more deeply. You have asked if the shortest path is not the best path back home. The answer is not necessarily. The path that brings you the most benefit is the path that brings you to completion, however long that takes. The moment of absolute awareness, that is, of knowing and experiencing and feeling completely who you really are, is arrived at in steps or stages. Each passage through a lifetime can be considered one of those steps. No soul arrives at absolute awareness in one lifetime. It is the cumulative effect of many passages through the life cycle that produces what might be called complete completion or absolute awareness. Each passage is ended when the agenda or the mission of that particular passage has been completed. This life ends when you have completed what you came here to the physical world to experience this time. You then add what you completed here to what you completed on other journeys through time until you ultimately have it all together and absolute awareness has been achieved. So there are two levels of completion. Level 1 is when you complete a step in the overall process. Level 2 is when you complete the overall process itself. Yes. And the overall process is complete when who you are has been fully known, fully experienced, and fully felt. This is a magnificent explanation, and I get it. There are specific things that souls come to earth to accomplish, to experience. Some souls may take longer to accomplish it. When they are complete, it is a time for us to rejoice, for their work here is done. You do get it. That's great. That is exactly right. And shorter is not necessarily better. Being complete is the objective, not being fast. Correct. Terrific. Now I can feel good about myself again, because I don't think I've accomplished yet, and I'm into my 6th decade, what I came here to accomplish. And what is that? I'm not sure. That would make it very difficult to accomplish. I know, that's part of my problem. Perhaps we should talk about that. I'm sure I would benefit from talking about that, but For now I really don't want to be distracted here. You were saying that even though they may not necessarily be better, some paths back home are less arduous than others. I'm intrigued by that. It is easier to take a path that has few obstacles. Agreed. So how do I find one? You don't find out. You create one. How? You're doing it now. By committing to even taking the path, you make things easier. Many people are walking through their life having no thought of being on the path. They have not studied. They have not prayed. They have not meditated. They have not paid any attention at all to their inner life, nor seriously explored larger realities. You are doing that now. By virtue of the fact that you are undertaking the explorations that you are undertaking right here, that you are having this very conversation. You are creating a path with fewer obstacles. What I am saying here is that whether you take a winding path or a straight one, go through the woods or walk past them, when you get to your truth about life and living and death and dying, you will have cleared the obstacles and created a less arduous path to completion. Once you know about death fully, you can live your life fully. Then you can experience yourself fully, which is exactly what you came here to do. And then you can die gracefully and gratefully, knowing consciously that you are complete. That is a far less arduous path and creates a very peaceful death. Something about this sounds like a judgment to me, almost like an imperative. If you haven't died well and you haven't done it right, that sort of thing, you're making a judgment that I would never make. There is no way to die wrong, and there is no way not to get to your destination, which is blissful reunion with the divine at the core of your being. There is no way not to be home with God. We are talking here about how to make your life and your death less arduous, more peaceful. The statement to which you refer is an observation, not a judgment. If you easily move to completion with what you came to your body to experience, and thus die gracefully and gratefully, you have found peace before your death rather than after it. All souls find peace after their death. Not all souls find peace before it. When you die, it is impossible to not be complete. But it is possible to not be consciously aware of it. Peace is being consciously aware that you are complete, that there is nothing more for you to do, that you are done, finished, and can go home. If you approach death in fear and trepidation, agitated and trembling, not wanting to let go, not feeling finished, or feeling afraid of what is now going on in your life, or of what is to come, you too will get to your destination. You cannot fail to arrive there. But it will be more arduous, is that it? That's it. Let us make one thing clear here again. You are always immersed in the divine. You are immersed in it right now. Indeed, you are it. You are divinity, immersed in divinity, expressing itself as the individuated aspect of a divinity known as you. Therefore, in the truest sense, you are not on a journey home. You are already there. You are home with God always. You already are where you would seek to be. The extraordinary secret is that knowing this immediately brings you the experience of it. Right now it feels as though we're going around in circles here. In this conversation, I mean, it feels as if I'm sleepwalking and I don't know where I am. Not just in this conversation, but in your life. When you live, or when you die, for that matter, in fear and trepidation, agitated and trembling, not wanting to let go, afraid of what is now in your life, or what is to come, you are demonstrating that you do not know where you are. And the problem with this is that what you demonstrate, you experience. Ever it has been, ever it shall be. Therefore you will not experience that you are united with the divine. You will not experience that you are home with God, even though you are. Believe it or not, I'm trying to understand. You're moving very fast, and this is very complex, as I knew it would be. But I am trying to understand. Good. Keep up with me then. Keep tracking. You already know all of this. I am merely reminding you. You are not on a journey to the divine, but you are in the midst of an eternal process in which you experience more and more of divinity as you move through it. You are experiencing more and more of the core of your being, more and more of the essence of who you are as life continues. You are eternally merging with that essence, and as part of the process of life, emerging from it again as a replenished expression of it. This process that we might call energy merging is the formula for all of life. It can be written as E plus merging. That is why this event is sometimes called a spiritual emergency. This is what death and dying is all about. Death is an emergency because it is not about dying at all. It is about merging and emerging. Do you mean that I not only go into total union with the divine, but come out of it? Yes. Are we talking here about reincarnation? In a manner of speaking. Here we go again. I think It is important to understand that none of this is reducible to one sentence or one word. Still, if you'll have some patience, I think you will find that none of it is beyond your comprehension. All I want is to get to the truth about death and dying. I want to know the God's truth. You think God is separate from you, don't you? I don't really think that. I know that God and I, that you and I are one. Do you really? I do. I know there's no separation between you and me. I know that I am an individuation of divinity. Then why do you talk the way you talk? Why do you say that you want to know God's truth? You must know that God's truth lies within you. God's truth was a figure of speech. Ah, so what you are hoping to find really is your truth. I am hoping to use this conversation, this prayer, as a means of leading me back to the answer, the truth, which lies deep within me. Yes? Good. This experience can lead you to that path, but you must place yourself on it. As I have said now repeatedly, I can show you the way home, but you must take the way home. I have said that in the truest sense you are not on a journey. You already are where you want to go. But since you do not know this, your experience is that you are on a journey. So, you must make the journey to find out that the journey is not necessary. You must embark on the path to find out that the path begins and ends right where you are. Chapter 8. You're afraid to die, and you're afraid to live. What a way to exist. How can I be sure that these words, out of all the words that have been spoken on this subject, can lead me to my truth about life and death? You don't have to agree with these words in order to be led to your truth. I don't. No. Even if you disagree completely with the words here, you will be led to your truth. You will have found the path back home. Because if you disagree with the words here, you will then know what you do agree with. You will then take another path. And if that other path is not your path, you will take another, and still another, until you find your way out of this confusion and back home. I suppose that's how it could all work. That's how it does all work. Your whole life leads you back home, back to me. Therefore, bless every event, every person, every moment, for each is sacred. Even if you disagree with that event, even if you dislike that person, even if you are not enjoying that moment, all are sacred. For life informs life about life through the process of life itself. And there is nothing more sacred than knowing and then experiencing what life has to tell us about ourselves. And so, having this very conversation, even if you disagree with it, will lead you to your truth and your path home. You will also be led to that path if you agree with this conversation. Either way, this conversation will get you where you seek to go. All paths lead home. Every single one. And each path has its own marks on the trees to help lead me there. Precisely. Now you are understanding. Those are all your own markings that you see on the trees. Look around. Nothing is here that you have not placed here. Yet sometimes you will not recognize your own marks. If you look at them from a different angle, they may look different to you. They may look as though someone else has placed them there. We are talking, of course, about the marks of your life, particularly those that you would call scars. Be careful not to think that someone else has placed them there. That would turn you into a victim and someone else into a villain. Yet in life, as I have already told you, there are no victims and no villains. Always remember that. My wonderful friend Elizabeth Kubler-Ross used to say something about this that I really loved. Should you shield the canyon from the windstorms, you would never see the beauty of their carvings. Yes, that is what I meant earlier when I said that all of life is wonderful, just as death is wonderful. It is all a matter of perspective. Perspective creates perception. Yes. No, don't just say yes. Examine that last statement more thoroughly. Look into it more deeply. That is one of the most important statements I am going to make here. I said, perspective creates perception. How we look at something creates how we see it. Exactly. Thank you. And so, if you look upon yourself as a victim, you will see yourself as one. If you look upon yourself as a villain, you will see yourself as one. If you look upon yourself as a co-creator in a collaborative process, that is how you will see yourself. If you look upon every event of your life, including death, as a gift, you will see it as a treasure that will serve you always and lead you to joy. If you look upon any event, including death, as a tragedy, you will mourn it forever. and receive nothing from it but everlasting sorrow. Which brings us to the fifth remembrance. Death is never a tragedy. It is always a gift. Focus on this now. Focus just on this event that you call death. Because if you can see that this is a true about death, you will soon be able to see that this is true about every other event in life. And if I can see even death as a gift rather than a tragedy, then I can see everything else in my life, the little deaths, as a gift as well. All the so-called bad things that have been done to me, or that I have done to someone else. And then there will be no more sorrow. Not for you and not for anyone else. When you live all your deaths well, you let others live with your deaths well, the little ones and the big one. Wow, what a thing to say. What a thing to slip in here. But it's not always possible to die well. I'm talking about the big death now. I mean, sometimes we're just plain afraid to die. Of course you are. And when you're also afraid of the little deaths, meaning any defeat or loss, you're also afraid to live. So you're afraid to die, and you're afraid to live. What a way to exist. So help us. What do you think I'm doing here? I'm spending time here helping you get rid of your fear of the big death. Because when you are not afraid of that, you are no longer afraid of anything, and you can truly live. So why are we all so deathly afraid of dying? Because of what you've been taught about death, because of what you've been told. When you hold death in a new way, you can experience it in a new way, and that can be a great gift, not only to yourself, but to those you love. I have a friend, Andrew Parker, who lives in Australia, and whose wonderful wife, Pip, she was called by those who loved her, did just that. Pip died of cancer on New Year's Eve, just after the arrival of 2005, and Andrew shared with me an email that he had sent off to a large number of his friends' wife's friends. It illustrates perfectly what we're talking about here. In his email, Andrew said, Home with God, Chapter 9. There are no victims, and there are no villains in the world. This is a striking example, a wonderful, stunning example of how, when you live your death well, you let others live with your death well. I hope when I die that I can do it as gracefully as Pip. Having had the conversation we are now having will make a big difference. Knowing that you are dying because you choose to die will be a big help. Everyone dies when they choose to die. Pip chose to die when she did. Terry Schiavo died the way she wanted to die. Well, you know about Pip because she actually said when she chose to die. She said she wanted to bring in the new year. Yes, but did she want to get cancer at that stage in her life? Did she really want to leave that early? Something like this would be really hard to accept by her husband, her children, and members of her family. They would ask, with deep sorrow, I am sure, why would Pip want to leave us like that? I have an answer that may shock you. What is it? Later. We need to talk about this later. There is much groundwork to be laid first. Then the answer won't shock you quite as much. Well, whatever the answer is, I am sure that members of Terry Schiavo's family have the same question. They too, I feel sure, would reject out of hand this notion of pre-choice in the matter of the timing and end manner of one's death. No, most people would say, that is not my experience, and that was not the experience of Pip or Terry either. I know you said earlier that souls leave their body only when their work is complete, and that this should therefore be a time of celebration. But a soul's leaving the body can still be very sad for the people left behind in the physical world, and telling those people that their beloved actually chose to leave could make it sound as if that person no longer wanted to be with them. And, well, that would be very hurtful, it seems to me. I know a woman whose husband died when he was very young. The woman carried the sadness of her loss for many years, but the real loss was felt by her young daughter. She never got over the loss of her father, and in fact remained angry with him to the very day for leaving. She does not understand why her father would do that. And if I told her now that no soul leaves the body when it doesn't want to, and that every soul causes his or own death, and actually wants to die at that time, it would wound her even more. Unless she understood that he may not have consciously known what he wanted. That is not the surprising answer I am going to reveal to you later, but it is an important thing to consider as a possibility now. I don't understand. What do you mean when you say that a father may not have consciously known what he wanted? I thought you've been telling me that everyone is the cause of his or own death, and no one dies against their will. Perhaps it will help you to understand that human beings create and also know what they know at 3 levels of experience: subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Remember that I said, when you die, it is impossible to not be complete. But it is possible to not be consciously aware of this. A soul can know at the superconscious level that it is complete for this lifetime, but not be aware of that at the subconscious or conscious level. These 3 levels of experience were mentioned in an earlier dialogue that we had, which became the book Friendship with God. I found it utterly fascinating. At this juncture, it is more than fascinating. It is important to understand so that your questions can be answered. Then let's go over it again. What are the 3 levels of experience? The subconscious is the place of experience at which you do not know about or consciously create. Your reality, you do so subconsciously. The subconscious is the place of experience at which you do not know about or consciously create your reality. You do so subconsciously, that is, with very little awareness that you are even doing this, much less why. This is not a bad level of experience, so do not judge it. It is a gift, because it allows you to do things automatically. Like what? What do you mean, do things automatically? Functions such as growing your hair, blinking your eyes, or beating your heart are examples of things that you do automatically. You don't sit down and think, I've got to blink my eyes, I've got to grow my fingernails. These things occur. Your entire bodily system operates itself without specific conscious instructions from you. The subconscious also creates instant solutions to problems. It checks incoming data, then goes into memory bank and comes up with rapid-fire responses to a myriad of situations, again automatically. If you touch a hot pan, you don't have to think about moving your hand away. You jerk it away in a split second. This is an automated response based on prior data. The subconscious can save your life. Yet if you are unaware of what parts of your life you have chosen to create automatically, you could imagine yourself to be at the effect of life rather than at cause in the matter. You could even create yourself as a victim. Therefore, it is important to be aware of what you have chosen to be unaware of. The conscious level is the place of experience at which you know about and create your reality with some awareness of what you are doing. How much of which you are aware depends upon your level of consciousness. This is the physical level. When you are committed to the spiritual path, you move through your life ever seeking to elevate your consciousness, or to enlarge the experience of your physical reality to include and encompass what you know at another level is true about you. The superconscious level is the place of experience at which you know about and create your reality with full awareness of what you are doing. This is the soul level. Most of you are not aware at a conscious level of your superconscious intentions, unless you are. The superconscious is the part of you that holds the larger agenda of the soul, which is to move to completion in what you came to the body to experience and to feel. The superconscious is constantly leading you to your next most desired growth experience, drawing you to the exact right and perfect people, places, and events with which to have that, so that you may achieve the combination of knowing and experiencing that will produce feeling, creating awareness of your true being. The last time we talked about this, I asked if there was a way to set the same intentions on the subconscious, conscious, and superconscious levels at the same time. And there is. This 3-in-1 level of consciousness is called the supraconscious. Some of you also call it Christ consciousness or elevated consciousness. You can all go to this place. Some people do it in meditation, others in deep prayer, others through ritual or dance or through sacred ceremony, and others through the process that you call death. There are many ways to get there. When you are in this place, you are fully creative. All 3 levels of consciousness have become one. You are said to have it all together. But it is really more than that, because in this, as in all things, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Supra-consciousness is not simply a combining of the subconscious, the conscious and the superconscious. It is what happens when all are combined and then transcended. You then move into pure beingness. This beingness is the ultimate source of creation within you. You may experience this before your death or after it. I assume this is how a living master creates. Yes. Then can a master ever be surprised? For a person of continually elevated consciousness, outcomes and results are always consciously intended and never unanticipated. The degree to which an experience appears unanticipated is a direct indication of the level of consciousness at which that experience is being perceived. Remember that I said, perception creates experience. The student of mastery is one who always agrees with the experience she is having, even if that experience does not appear favorable, because the student of mastery knows that she must have intended it at some level. That knowing is what makes it possible for one person to be utterly peaceful and together during circumstances that another would find very stressful. What the student of mastery may not always see is the level of consciousness at which the experience was intended. Yet the student of mastery has no doubt that at some level he is responsible for it. It is precisely this knowledge that places him on the road to mastery. Earlier you asked if Pip wanted to die, if she caused it, and I replied, not on a conscious level. Now you know what I mean by that statement. All decisions affecting the human soul are made by that soul at one or more of the 3 levels of consciousness, or at the 4th level, the superconsciousness level. Pip chose the period of her life within which she was going to leave her body, as do all souls. In her case, this decision was not made at the conscious level. Then, having made that larger decision superconsciously, Pip consciously chose the precise day and time of her departure, moments after midnight on January 1st. Just after bringing in the new year. You can know that this decision was made at the conscious level because she announced it in advance. She was totally aware of what she was choosing, and she created it. Perhaps something like that was true about Terry Schiavo. Maybe she did not consciously choose the earlier events of her life, but maybe things changed when after those initial events Terry was said to have lost consciousness. Maybe Terry had not lost consciousness at all. Maybe she shifted her consciousness. Maybe she found herself at a different level of consciousness. First, at the superconscious level, where she became fully aware of what she was creating and why. And then finally at the supraconscious level, where having completed what she came here to complete, she achieved absolute awareness of her intrinsic unity with the divine. I believe that Terry Schiavo used her life to invite the people of the world to move to a new level of inquiry about matters of life and death, and soul and God, and about what actions are of benefit to humanity in cases such as hers. I believe that Terry Schiavo at a spiritual level was never ever a victim of her circumstance. I believe that she knew during those final years exactly what was going on, and allowed herself to be subjected to it in order to draw global attention to herself for the good of all humankind. I believe that Jesus did exactly the same thing. Am I right about Terry? It would be profoundly intrusive and inappropriate for me to reveal the inner superconscious or supraconscious workings of this individual's mind. This much can be said, however, and I have said it many, many times before, about all human beings. There are no victims, and there are no villains in the world. Well, this is the third or fourth time you've made that statement in this conversation alone. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. The idea of no one being a victim is something just emotionally difficult for people to accept. You observed before that this is because most people are looking at life situations from the very limited perspective of normal human understanding. But how can those of us who seek to raise our own consciousness and to assist in helping to raise the consciousness of humanity hope to enlarge that understanding? Speak to humanity of the tools of creation, thought, word, and deed. These are the devices with which you create your micro-reality. These tools are perfect. They are magnificently effective. What you think, what you say, and what you do creates the experience that you call you, and the conditions and circumstances of your life. It is as I said before, if you think that you are a victim, say that you are a victim, and act as if you are a victim, you will experience yourself as a victim in spite of the fact that you are not. The same will be true when you decide to label the experience of others. If you think that another is a victim, say that another is a victim, and act as if another is a victim. You will experience that other person as a victim, in spite of the fact that he or she is not. Do you experience Terry Schiavo as having been a victim? Perhaps you do. Was Terry a victim? No. It is impossible to be a victim of circumstances you create. Always remember that. It is impossible to be a victim of circumstances you create. Therefore, to be a victim of circumstances, you must swear that you did not create them. This tells a lie about you. You create all of the circumstances of your life. If you create them at the conscious level, you will be aware of it. If you create them at the subconscious or superconscious level, you may not. You will have created the circumstances nonetheless. All masters know this, which is why no master ever points a finger at another person and says, "You did this to me." Yet you may experience whatever you choose. You may experience what you have come to know about who you are as a result of your life in the spiritual realm before your birth. Or you may experience something other than that, something less than that. In this, as in all matters, you have free will. This brings up yet another question for me. Is there consciousness before birth? And from what you're saying here, the answer seems to be yes. So we are aware of ourselves before we're born. Oh, yes, long before. The you that is you has been aware of itself forever. We will talk more about this later, when we explore in more depth this matter of birth. For now, simply know that you have always been. You are now, and you will always be. When you are born, you simply disintegrate. I what? You disintegrate. You cease being integrated. You cease being singular and divide yourself into three parts: body, mind, and spirit. Or what could also be called subconscious, conscious, and superconscious. Oh, so that's the correlation. Loosely, yes. Broadly, yes. It's not an exact, minutely precise correlation, but it paints the picture in broad strokes. In this Holy Trinity, God in three parts, your mind is where your conscious activity takes place. Therefore, think only what you choose to experience. Say only what you choose to make real, and use your mind to consciously instruct your body to do only what you choose to demonstrate as your highest reality. This is how you create at the conscious level. Look at this closely. Is this not what every master has done? Has any master done more? No. In a word, no. Home with God, Chapter 10. You are all at cause in the matter of everything that is going on in your life, including your death. That's wonderful. That's just wonderfully put. Thank you. And now I'd like to return to something, if I may, something a bit disturbing. Please. When you told me very early in this conversation that we are all the cause of our own deaths, the first thing that came up for me was that if this statement is true, then every death is, by definition, a suicide. I've been thinking about that ever since. That is not accurate. The fact that everyone is at cause in the ending of their life does not mean they are deliberately choosing at a conscious level to do so, nor does it imply that they are doing so in order to escape some condition or circumstance. Causing something and consciously choosing it can be two entirely different things. What? I don't understand. You can be the cause of an accident, but that does not mean that you consciously chose it. Ah, I see what you mean. So let's be clear about what is being communicated here. You are all at cause in the matter of everything that is going on in your life, including your death. Most people are not consciously aware of this. But if a person is consciously aware of this, and by the way, this dialogue is making people consciously aware of it, then wouldn't that mean that when a person dies, that person is committing suicide? I mean, all people are, by these lights, at cause in the matter of the ending of their lives, no? Have I missed something? Two conditions must exist in order to classify a death as a suicide. 1. You must be aware of what you are doing. That is, you must be making a conscious choice to die. too. You must be making the choice to die for the purpose of escaping rather than completing your life. One purpose of this conversation is to help you get in touch with the sacredness of your physical life, to assist you in coming to understand that life in the body is a gift of unspeakable proportions. I said earlier that death is a powerful moment of creation, and it is, but it is designed for going to something, not for escaping from something. There's so much pain attached to suicide that I almost didn't want to bring this subject up. That pain is felt first, of course, by the person going through the turmoil that led to the decision to end his life or her own life, and then by the family and friends of that person. Can there be any place of comfort in all of this for anyone? Comfort may come from knowing that the person who has committed suicide is all right. They are okay. They are loved, and they are never forsaken by God. They will simply not have achieved what they set out to do. That is important for anyone who is contemplating suicide to understand. Are you saying that those who commit suicide are not punished in any way? There is no such thing as punishment in what you call the afterlife. It is those who are left behind who are punished. They experience an incredible shock from which some never fully recover. All of them feel an enormous loss. Many spend the rest of their lives blaming themselves. They wonder what they did wrong. They agonize over what they could have said that might have changed things. The sad thing is that those who end their own life imagine that they are going to change things, and they are not. Ending your life in order to escape something does not create a situation in which you escape anything. If you are thinking of ending your life in order to avoid something, you should know, I say again, that you are contemplating something that you cannot do. A wish to avoid that which is painful is normal. It is all part of the human dance. However, in this particular moment of that dance, a person is trying to push herself or himself away from something that the soul has come to the body to experience, not to escape. Because that person has found the experience to be painful and difficult, he or she seeks to step into a void where there is nothing to face and nothing to fear. But people cannot step into a void because there is no void to step into. A void does not exist. There is no void anywhere in the universe. Not anywhere at all. There is no place where nothing is. Everywhere you go, the space is filled with something. What is it? What is the space filled with? Your own creations. You will face your creations wherever you go, and you cannot escape them, nor do you wish to, because you have created your creations in order to recreate yourself. It will not benefit you, therefore, to attempt to sidestep them or to dance around them. Dancing your way to the void cannot be done. Let me put this another way. A void dance is not possible. That is very clever. That is a very clever play on words. I use words in this way frequently, so that you can easily and always remember the message they seek to convey. Well, I will always remember that one. A void dance is not possible. No, because what you die with, you will continue to live with. That is a very powerful statement. It was meant to be. Forgive me for going back to this. Forgive me for saying this now, right here, as we are talking about ending one's own life. But earlier you said that death was wonderful. Why wouldn't someone whose life is terrible desire death if it is so wonderful? What you call death is wonderful, but it is no more wonderful than life. In fact, death is life, simply continuing in a different way. I want you to be very clear here. You will encounter yourself on the other side of death, and all the stuff you carried with you will still be there. And then you will do the most ironic thing. You will give yourself another physical life in which to deal with what you did not deal with in your most recent one. I will return to physical life. I can't work things out in the non-physical spiritual realm. No, for it is the purpose of physical life to provide you with a context within which you may experience what you choose. In the spiritual realm, to experience. And so, by leaving physical life, you will escape nothing, but will just place yourself right back into physical life and into the situation you were seeking to escape, except now you will be back at the beginning again. You will not see this as a punishment, or a requirement, or a burden, because you will do this all of your own free will, understanding it to be the part of the process of self-creation for which you exist. So we might as well deal with whatever we are dealing with right now. Indeed, that is what life is for. When life is used in that way, you will die when you are ready to use death as a tool with which to create a new and different life. Suicide is the use of death to escape, but it creates the same life all over again, with the same challenges and experiences. I've never heard it put quite that way. That says a lot. Yes. So you may use death as a tool with which to escape or with which to create. The first is impossible. The second is incredible. But isn't there a bit of judgment in that? Doesn't that seem to make suicide wrong? I mean, I thought that God had no judgment. There's nothing wrong or bad about creating the same life challenges and experiences over again. If you wish to face the same challenges over and over, go ahead and do it. In this, as in all things, you may do as you wish. It is simply important to know, if you think that you are going to escape these challenges, that you are not. You are going to find yourself looking straight at them again. And of course, that can get a bit repetitious. What makes people feel that they just don't want to face their present challenges anymore is the idea that they have to face them alone. This is a false thought, but it is held by many. Loneliness is the biggest affliction in the world today. Emotional, physical, and spiritual loneliness. The feeling of being isolated and injured, or burdened in a way that no one understands, and of being without resources, is a formula for hopelessness. It is in the face of endless hopelessness that at last nothing seems to matter except escape. Yet you cannot and will not escape, but merely repeat from the beginning what you are seeking to avoid. That is why I come here now to tell you that you are not without resources, none of you, and I ask you to announce this to all the world. You have but to call on me with absolute knowing that I will be there. You have but to reach out with absolute faith to see me reach back. May I ask you what may seem like a strident question? Certainly. Why do we have to reach out to you before you reach out to us? If you really are an all-knowing God, then you must know when we need help. If you really are an all-merciful God, then you must be willing to offer that help without our asking. If we are already on our knees, bent over in utter defeat, why must we grovel even more and plead with you to rescue us? If you are an all-loving God, why don't you love us enough to help us without us having to beg you? And while we're at it, what do you say to those who would tell you, I have called out to you, and you have not been there? Do you think I have not asked for God's help? For God's sake, why do you think I'm so desperate? I'm so desperate because it seems like even God has let me down. I'm utterly deserted here, and I want none of it anymore. I'm done, finished, through. What do you say to that person, huh? I say, I want you to consider now the possibility of a miracle. This is a reason why you have not experienced receiving a solution from me. But that reason is not important in this moment. What is important is this moment is for you to consider the possibility that now, Right now, in front of you, there is an answer. Open your eyes, and you will see it. Open your mind, and you will know it. Open your heart, and you will feel that it is there. I say, only if you call out to me in absolute knowing will you be aware that your answer has been given you. Because it is what you know, what you feel, and what you declare that will be true in your experience. If you call out to me in hopelessness, I will be there. But your despair may blind you and block you from seeing me. I say, nothing you have done is so horrible, nothing you have had happen to you is so beyond repair that it cannot be healed. I can and shall make you whole again. Yet you must stop judging yourself. The one making the strongest judgment is you. Others may judge you from the outside looking in, but they do not know you. They do not see you, and so their judgments are not valid. Do not make them valid by taking them on as your own. They have no meaning. Do not wait for others to see you as you really are, for they see you through the eyes of their own pain. Know, instead, that I see you now in wonder and in truth, and that what I see of you is perfect. As I look upon you, I have but one thought. This is my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. I say, forgiveness is not necessary in the kingdom of God. God cannot be offended or damaged in any way. There is only one question of importance in the entire universe, and it has nothing to do with your guilt or innocence. It has to do with your identity. Do you know who you really are? When you do, all thoughts of loneliness disappear. All ideas of unworthiness evaporate. All contemplations of hopelessness transmute into wondrous awareness of the miracle that is your life, and of the miracle that is you. And finally, my beloved, I say, you are surrounded in this very moment by 100,000 angels. Accept now their ministrations, and then pass their gifts on to others. For it is in giving that you shall receive, and it is in healing that you shall be healed. The miracle for which you have been waiting has been waiting for you. You will know this when you become the miracle that another waits. Go then, and perform your miracles, and allow your death to be the moment of your greatest glory, not an announcement of your greatest sorrow. Use death as a tool with which to create, not with which to destroy. with which to move forward, not with which to go back. In this choice will you have honored life itself, and allowed life to bring you your own grandest dream, even while you are living with your physical body, peace within your soul at last. Thank you. Thank you for those words. I hope and pray they may be heard by every hurting person. I need to ask you one more question about all this. What about when a person asks another, a doctor or a loved one, to assist them in bringing their life to an end? You are speaking of euthanasia, which is quite a different thing. This is when a person realizes that her or his life is already over in every practical way, and that there is nothing left to experience except unremitting physical pain or total loss of dignity in the death process. Euthanasia cannot be equated with suicide. People who are contemplating suicide in the middle of an otherwise active and reasonably healthy life are making a very particular kind of decision. People who end a life that is a very short time away from ending anyway, with every medical evidence indicating that, are making an entirely different kind of decision. Those who see clearly by every medical evidence that their physical life is all but over may choose to ask, is it necessary to suffer this final pain and indignity? Each soul will have an answer that is right for it, and no soul will answer the question incorrectly, because there is no such thing as an incorrect answer. I see the difference clearly, and I think every reasonable person does. Home with God, Chapter 11. You are different from God, but you are not divided from God. That is why you can never die. Now let me return, please, to something else. You said earlier that you would describe some basic spiritual principles of life that would make it easier for us to understand life itself and death. And while you have since touched on several, is there any one single basic life principle that would just throw open wide the door to deeper understanding in one moment? Yes, and this is the sixth remembrance. You and God are one. There is no separation between you. While this may appear to come to be a very elementary piece of information, when you apply this basic principle of life to life, you create a container within which you can hold all the previous remembrances you've brought yourself here, as well as those to come. The implications of the sixth remembrance are enormous. If you are clear that you and God are one, and that there is no separation between you, it changes the context within which you experience that everything in your life has happened, is happening, and ever will happen. To use obvious examples from what we have just been talking about here, an understanding of unity with the divine makes it far less arduous for you to remember and embrace the truth that you are the cause of your own death, or that there are no victims and no villains in the world. This can make your path to completion less arduous and your death more peaceful. Now, obviously, the individual that is you does not represent the totality of God. Yet you have all the characteristics, all of the aspects, all of the elements of divinity within you. God is you, writ large. Indeed, God is everything. There is nothing that is not God. I've often heard the analogy that I am to God as a wave is to the ocean. The same stuff, exactly, just smaller in size. That analogy has indeed been used many times, and it is not inappropriate. So now, let us define this ocean. Let us propose here that God is the Creator. Very few people who believe in a God at all have an argument with that. Okay, if it is true that God is the Creator, this means that you too are a creator. God creates all of life, and you create all of your life. It's that simple. If you think of it that way, you can hold it in your consciousness. You and God are creating all the time. You on the micro level, God on the macro. Are you clear? Yes, I see. There is no separation between the wave and the ocean. None. The wave is one part of the ocean, acting in a certain way. The wave does the same thing the ocean does, in smaller degree. That is exactly correct. You are me, acting the way you are acting. I give you the power to act as you are acting. Your power comes from me. Without the ocean, the wave does not have the power to be a wave. Without me, you do not have the power to be you. And without you, my power is not made manifest. Your joy is to make me manifest. The joy of humanity is to manifest God. Now there's a statement. Here's another. Life is God made physical. What is important to understand is that there is no single way in which life makes God physical. Some waves are small, barely a ripple, while other waves are huge, thunderous in their sweep. Yet, whether minuscule or monstrous, there is always a wave. There is no time that there is not a wave on the ocean, and while every wave is different, not a single one is divided from the ocean itself. Difference does not mean division. Those words are not interchangeable. You are different from God, but you are not divided from God. The fact that you are not divided from God is why you can never die. The wave lands on the beach. but it does not cease to be. It merely changes form, receding back into the ocean. The ocean does not get smaller every time a wave hits the sand. Indeed, the incoming wave demonstrates and therefore reveals the ocean's majesty. Then, by receding into the ocean, it restores the ocean's glory. The presence of the wave is evidence of the existence of the ocean. Your presence is evidence of the existence of God. I should tack this to my refrigerator. Your presence is evidence of the existence of God. What a great bumper sticker. This explanation is so simple and yet so elegant. So when we say that God and God alone chooses the time of your death, we are saying that humans are part of that process because humans are part of God. Yes, that is exactly right. And when I die, my death will be happening through me, not to me. That is correct. You are now looking at it in a different way. You are changing your perspective. This will change your perception, and it will alter your experience. Perception creates experience. But there is just one last thing that I can't yet put together. Why in the world would I choose to die ever? Oh, that's simple. Because you're done, finished, complete. Home with God, Chapter 12. There are those who say that seeing is believing. I am telling you that believing is seeing. Well, okay. We've kind of circled here. Back again. Am I understanding you to say that I came here with something I have to do, and that when I do what I came to do, I am finished and ready to leave? It's not something you have to do, it is something you choose to experience. If you and God are one, you don't have to do anything. Every decision emerges from free will. Every choice demonstrates it. You have come to the body to experience an aspect of yourself, as we discussed earlier. It could be that this aspect of you is experienced through something you do, that is, through a physical activity, or through some particular way that you are being, even if you are actually doing nothing. I need an example of that to make it more real. Well, since we are talking a lot about what you call death and dying here, let's say that you are sitting quietly at a funeral. You are doing nothing, really, except sitting there. You are hardly moving, but you are being something, yes? Maybe you are being sad, or maybe you are being inwardly joyous. You could be either. Much would depend on how you see things. In this case, on how you see death. My perspective will create my perception. Yes. And this is the way you create what you are being, in short. In short, if you are being sad, it is because of the way you are looking at things. And if you are being inwardly joyous at that funeral, it is for exactly the same reason. And how you are looking at things is a choice you make. It is a free will choice that defines who you are and who you wish to be and how you wish to experience yourself. You can change your perspective in any situation by changing your mind about how you want to look at it. You can decide what you want to see, and then having placed it there, you will find it there. Now there's a statement. Yes, it is a very empowering statement of what is so, unless it is not. And do you know who will decide? Me. Yes, you. That is right. You will decide. You will decide whether that is a very empowering statement by how you see it. And so the effect is circular. What you see is what you get, and what you get is what you see. You see? Cute, very cute. Believe it or not, there is more going on here than my simply being glib. Oh, I know that. Your glibberosities always point to a huge underlying truth. I'm glad you like making up words. That's going to come in handy later. So, getting back to our example, one way for me to be inwardly joyous as I near the time of my own funeral is for me to understand that when I die, it is because I choose to die. Everything that happens to me, I am at some level causing, including my own death and the timing of it. That is exactly what I am saying here, yes. This will bring you great peace at the time of your death, knowing that you and God are one, and that you are making this decision jointly can take you to a place of soft serenity. Yes, that idea requires humanity to believe in a whole different kind of universe. In our universe, most people who believe in God at all think about God, not themselves as first cause. And God is certainly the cause of their death. They die when God decides to call them home. They die when they decide to go home. You are asking me to believe in a universe in which I am the cause of my own experience. Absolutely. That is the universe in which you live. It doesn't appear that way. And it will not appear that way until you change your perspective. Nothing will appear that you cannot see. Well, there's wisdom for you. More wisdom than you know. There are those who say that seeing is believing. I am telling you that believing is seeing. I love that new twist on that old aphorism, and this too you have said before, and I will say it again until you get it. Okay, so no one dies before his time. You've said it over and over here, so I guess I have to either accept this or reject the entire notion. I'm going to accept it as true, even though it is difficult for me to do so. Tell me why that is so difficult. I guess I've still been clinging to the notion. Look, I've heard all that you've just said, but I guess there is a part of me that's still clinging to the notion that things happen to us that we do not want to have happen, that stuff happens that we do not create within ourselves. But I get now that nothing happens by chance. And so no one dies when he or she does not choose to die. There is no such thing as not choosing. Everything is chosen. Yes, okay, I see. And I guess you do have to keep making this point over and over again, because it runs counter to everything humanity has ever told itself about all this. And I have to tell you something. Just as I am writing this, just as we are engaging in this very specific part of what I expect to be a very long conversation, life itself is contriving to make me more and more clear that what you are saying is true. Nothing happens by chance. I mean, my life itself, my everyday life is convincing me of this. And it is doing so at this very moment. Tell me about that. Can it be possibly by chance that just as we were having the exact exchange above, I took a short break from my writing and for a change of pace decided to open my mailbox only to find a letter from a reader. The letter writer, Jackie Peterson, whose name I've changed to protect this person's identity, wrote to me saying that she had just lost her fiancé 2 months ago from a massive heart attack. She was devastated, especially since her fiancé had always been healthy. He always passed his checkups with a clean bill of health. She mentioned the Conversations with God books in which she read that we choose our earthly life situations. So she wonders, has she chosen this situation for herself? Or is it part of her former fiancé's model of life? Did you reply to that letter? I sure did. After I got over being completely flabbergasted that it would just show up at this exact moment, I did my best to answer the question. I based my reply on the very conversation we are having right now. Well, let's see how you did. Let's see what you wrote. This is my reply. My dear Jackie, please hear me at the depth of your soul when I tell you how sorry I am that this occurred in your life. I do not want to give you easy answers here that make it all sound so simple and make you wonder why any of this should be a problem. Jackie, this is a problem and a huge sadness, and you have every right to feel the way you are feeling, which is angry and sad and confused and frustrated and searching for answers. The first thing that I want to advise is that you allow yourself to have all the feelings that you are having without trying at any level to control or regulate or limit or restrict them. Just have your feelings and let them be what they are from moment to moment. It is remarkable that you should present me with this question today, because I am just now bringing through my next Conversation with God dialogue book called Home with God in a Life That Never Ends. And in that book, I was just now exploring this idea of the soul choosing when it is going to leave the body and return home. And yes, It is true that in the latest CWG book, as in all others, God is telling us that nobody dies at a time or in a way that is not of his or her own choosing. Yet God also makes it clear that this may not be a conscious choice, but may have been chosen at a level of awareness to which only the soul has access. If this is the case, it would mean that your fiancé did not choose at a conscious level to die when he did. At that level, his death may have been as much a surprise to him as it was to you. I suspect that it was. I do not believe that your fiancé consciously chose to leave you. It is true in my awareness that sometimes the soul chooses things at a subconscious or a superconscious level that it would never choose at a conscious level, and that it does this in order to fulfill its larger agenda. Dying nearly always falls into this category. Very few people choose to die when and where and how they do consciously. I believe that Christ did. I believe that the Buddha did. I believe that other souls have done so, but I believe that this circumstance is very rare. Try, therefore, not to be too angry with your fiancé, but rather allow yourself to direct your anger towards the circumstance that took him away from you, just as you were really beginning to enjoy your life together. I deeply understand and appreciate how devastated you are, and as I said, you have a right to be. In terms of understanding all that has happened, however, I believe that it is possible that one of the goals of the soul of your fiancé was to experience itself in perfect union and wonderful relationship after many attempts in this lifetime and many attempts in previous lifetimes as well. I believe that your fiancé was a gift to you, and that you were an even more extraordinary gift to him. You were what he too had been searching for. I believe you entered his life as part of a contract or agreement, allowing him to experience himself at last as much more of who he really is. I believe that he felt more himself with you than with anyone else he was ever with, not only in this lifetime, but perhaps in many lifetimes. This may all be a little hard for you to take, Jackie, on a human level, so I'm going to ask you to see if you can jump to a very high spiritual level to understand what I'm going to say next. I believe it is possible that your fiancé died of happiness. You are right, Jackie. He never did have a seriously ill day in his life. He was in good condition. He did have his checkups regularly, etc., and there was no earthly reason for him to die so suddenly. There may, however, have been a spiritual reason. He may quite simply have finally finished his earthly agenda with your help, with the assistance of you, the friendly soul with the specific intention of providing him that last assistance so that he could return home and then move forward with his evolution. You showed this wonderful man, Jackie, just how wonderful relationship could be, and just how wonderful he could be inside a relationship. As I said, Jackie, I believe that your relationship created a context within which he could have an experience of himself unlike he had ever had before. I go further. I am willing to bet that he actually told you this. I am sitting here believing that he actually said this to you in so many words, that he never experienced himself before the way he experienced himself with you. And so, Jackie, your fiancé left his body suddenly, gloriously celebrating what he had found and what he had finally experienced of himself, the fullness of who he is. The great sadness that you are being asked to bear is all part of the enormous, unspeakably wonderful and spiritually generous gift that you have been invited by life to give this very special other, which is really just another part of you, so that you also may know who you really are. For your fiancé gave you a treasure as well. CWG says all true benefits are mutual, which is the knowledge that you are capable of giving, receiving, and experiencing a wondrous love in human form, something that you had seriously begun to doubt before he came along. His intention then was to give you back to yourself, and this he did. And so the divine purpose for your relationship has been served and was completed in divine form and with divine timing. The beginning of your relationship in this form was by divine timing, as I am sure you know, because I believe you both talked about this often. And the ending of your relationship in this form was equally by divine timing, although I know it is very difficult to see or experience this right now. I believe that you may be preparing to serve an even larger agenda in the years ahead, using this experience to bring help and healing to others who find themselves in many different life situations, each of which will be challenging to them at a spiritual level. I believe that you may be preparing to move forward in the joy of giving people back to themselves. Some of these others whom you encounter may be people who have lost their belief in love, who think that the right and perfect relationship is simply not possible or open to them, and who think they could be better to just forget the whole idea as a great hoax of the universe. You will be able to tell them differently and encourage them to remain open always to the possibility. Some of these others may be people who find themselves in sudden bereavement, who do not understand and cannot see the perfection in the moment at hand, but only experience the loss and the pain, and who may even believe that they simply cannot go on. You will be able to tell them differently and encourage them to remain open always to the next grand gift of life, and to the next extraordinary moment of knowing and to expressing their highest notion of themselves, of God, of love, and of who they really are. Of course, all of this is conjecture on my part. I could be making it all up, Jackie, and I admit that, but I always see a larger purpose and a larger agenda at play in life's events, including life's most tragic events and life's saddest. I believe that at the end of our lives in our present physical form, all of this will become instantly and joyously clear to us, and we will rejoice and be glad in the perfect symmetry of it all. I also believe, Jackie, that your relationship with your fiancé can never end, and that he is able to be there with you at any time you wish to call on his love and his spiritual energy to help you as you continue your journey, even as he continues his. I believe that your journeys will always be together, even as they have been together for eons past. This is not the first time the two of you have been together in physical form, and this too is something that I believe you both recognized and understood. Nor, my dear Jackie, will it be the last indeed. Your relationship never ends, ever. It is ongoing even now, even in this very moment. For who do you think it is that brings you these words? Do you imagine it is me? Or could it be some other speaking through me, bringing this message to you? Do you believe that such a thing is possible, Jackie? Because you see, I do. Do not seek to not be sad, Jackie. During this time of loss, sadness is one of the heart's ways of honoring another. So too is happiness. You honor the soul of your beloved, Jackie, by feeling your sadness fully now, and you will honor the soul of your beloved, Jackie, by feeling your happiness fully too, when the day and time for that comes, as surely it will. As we await that day, my wish for you is to find peace for your soul, Jackie. May the peace that passeth all understanding be with you and abide with you, both now and evermore. I flow my love to you on wings of prayer.